Have you ever felt it? That invisible tension tightening your chest, speeding up your thoughts, stealing your breath, even when everything seems perfectly fine. It creeps in out of nowhere, or perhaps it's born from simply imagining tomorrow. You try to fight it, to control it, to breathe it away, to pretend everything is okay. But deep down, it's not. And that's when the relentless cycle truly begins. The fear of feeling fear. The anguish of being anxious, the crushing guilt for not being able to simply be okay. For too long, we've been told this is a problem, a flaw that needs fixing. We've been led to believe there's something fundamentally wrong with us. But what if that entire premise is wrong? What if anxiety isn't a defect, but a profound symptom of something far greater, something much deeper? In the next few moments, we won't be offering you quick-fix breathing exercises or productivity hacks designed to simply tame your mind. What you're about to hear might feel uncomfortable, perhaps even unsettling. But it also holds the profound potential to be incredibly liberating. Because maybe, just maybe, no one has ever told you that this persistent restlessness that haunts you isn't a mistake to be corrected, but a legitimate, urgent cry from your own consciousness, a message desperately waiting to be heard. Alan Watts, with his unparalleled wisdom, once said that the desire for security and the feeling of insecurity are in fact the very same thing. This statement, as paradoxical as it may sound, encapsulates a brutal, undeniable truth. The more fiercely you try to ensure your emotional stability, the more anxious you inevitably become. Why? Because anxiety arises precisely from our profound refusal to accept a fundamental truth about life. It is inherently impermanent, wildly unpredictable, and utterly uncontrollable. You suffer because you are desperately trying to control what simply cannot be controlled, the future. Take a moment right now and truly pause. Think about it. What exactly are you trying so hard to avoid? Is it failure, pain, abandonment, the ultimate unknown of death? Whatever it is, anxiety doesn't just emerge randomly. It's a natural, built-in mechanism designed to confront that very uncertainty. But it's a mechanism that has perhaps gone awry in our modern world. And this is where biology steps in, shedding a fascinating light on our predicament. Robert Sapolsky, one of the most brilliant neuroscientists alive today, reveals in his groundbreaking book, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, that the very stress system that consumes us in the present day was originally a finely tuned tool for survival. Our brains were meticulously shaped over millennia to react to immediate, tangible physical dangers, like a saber-toothed tiger lurking in the savannah. But today, the predator isn't a lurking beast. It's a notification buzzing on your phone, an unread email, a stray thought, an imagined catastrophe. Yet, the ancient alarm system in your brain keeps ringing relentlessly. You're not losing your mind. You are, quite simply, an ancestral body equipped with an ancient nervous system, trying desperately to survive in a starkly modern world. Your brain doesn't inherently understand that there isn't a literal lion hunting you down. It reacts in precisely the same archaic way, with muscle tension, a racing heartbeat, shortness of breath, a surge of adrenaline. And when this primal response repeats itself day after day, week after week, what was once a powerful defense mechanism transforms into an insidious internal prison. But here's the crucial, central point, the one that can truly shift everything. What if you stopped fighting against it? What if, instead of relentlessly trying to control anxiety, you chose to understand it? To truly see it, not as a mistake to be eradicated, but as a legitimate, even noble reflection of your fundamental humanity. This conversation is for you if you are utterly tired of fighting against yourself. It's for you if you've tried everything: therapy, meditation, medication, even escape, and still feel that persistent emptiness growing inside. Here, we will dive deep. We will look at anxiety in a way you've likely never been shown before, as a mirror, a powerful symptom, and perhaps your most profound teacher. And from this radical new perspective, something within you just might begin to change. Don't expect convenient, easy answers. But if you are genuinely willing to face the truth, both about the world and about yourself, you may discover something here far more valuable than temporary relief. You may find unparalleled clarity. So tell me, are you ready? Because after this, you won't see your anxiety the same way ever again. In his seminal work, The Wisdom of Insecurity, Alan Watts confronts us with one of the most uncomfortable truths of our modern existence. We live in a perpetual state of anxiety because we are utterly obsessed with security. What we consistently fail to grasp, however, is that this very obsession is, in itself, the insidious root of our insecurity. The relentless desire to control the future, to guarantee that everything will turn out precisely as we wish, is precisely what spirals us into a debilitating cycle of fear and paralysis. Watts brilliantly illustrates how modern humans exist like ghosts, trapped in a liminal space, caught between a past that has irrevocably vanished and a future that has not yet materialized. We are perpetually projecting ourselves forward, frantically trying to anticipate every conceivable risk, desperately seeking to ensure stability and attempting to somehow avoid the inherent chaos of life. But in this frantic process, we tragically neglect the only place where life genuinely, vibrantly happens, the present moment. Now, according to Watts, our lives are a continuous state of profound frustration because we relentlessly seek a certainty that the very fabric of reality simply cannot provide. Nature itself is change, a ceaseless flow, an eternal impermanence. Everything is in a constant state of transformation, including you. Yet, instead of embracing this fundamental truth, we cling desperately to illusory structures, our meticulously crafted plans, our ambitious goals, our desperate attempts at control, as if these fragile constructs could somehow prevent the inevitable unfolding of life. And it is precisely this deep-seated resistance to what is that generates the gnawing tension we mistakenly label as anxiety. For Watts, anxiety is not some glitch in the mind. It is a natural, almost logical reaction to the sheer absurdity of trying to live as if life were predictable, controllable, static. We recoil from emptiness, from silence, from the ultimate reality of death. And so we invent elaborate ways to fill them: careers, relationships, rigid religions, endless distractions. But none of these carefully constructed facades can provide the security we so desperately crave, because none of them are static. Everything slips away, everything changes. Everything, eventually, dissolves. And the harder we cling, the more fiercely we try to keep everything neatly under our thumb, the more anxious we become. He writes with piercing insight, "The search for security is a contradictory desire. When you seek to feel secure, are precisely assuming that you are not. And that in itself is insecurity." This, then, is the undisputed key point. Anxiety does not originate from reality itself, but from our futile, ceaseless attempt to deny it. We yearn to control the waves rather than learning the art of surfing. We demand a stable future in a universe that is in eternal, exhilarating mutation. And in this desperate, exhausting process, we simply cease to truly live. Indeed, according to Watts, the more you meticulously plan your life, the more you disconnect from the real, vibrant life that exists exclusively in the present moment. And here is Watts's final, powerful blow. There can be no genuine liberation as long as you insist on resisting the present. It is only when you profoundly, utterly accept the inherent instability of existence, that your mind can begin its long-awaited relaxation. Anxiety, in this transformative context, dissolves not through brute force, but through deep understanding. Not through desperate escape, but through willing surrender. But then, an even more compelling question emerges. If the fundamental root of anxiety lies in our mind's fierce refusal to genuinely live in the present, what happens when we shift our gaze to the body? What if this constant, unsettling state of alert is far more than just a fleeting mental pattern? What if it is profoundly, biologically ingrained within our very being? This is precisely what we will explore next. While Alan Watts brilliantly exposes the existential abyss of a mind that stubbornly refuses to inhabit the present, Robert Sapolsky transports us to an equally disturbing, yet profoundly insightful dimension: the body, the flesh, the intricate nervous system that pulsates within you. And what he reveals is as impactful as it is truly revolutionary. Anxiety, he shows us, is not merely a psychological phenomenon. It is, above all, a direct, undeniable reflection of our deep biological heritage. In Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, Sapolsky begins with a brilliant, provocative question. Why do wild animals like zebras rarely develop ulcers while stressed? Humans are plagued by them? The answer, he argues, is disarmingly simple. Animals activate their finely tuned stress system only when confronted with real, immediate, undeniable danger. When a lion lunges, the zebra's body instantly catapults into total emergency mode. A massive surge of adrenaline, a flood of cortisol, a rapid, pounding heartbeat, muscles primed for immediate flight. But crucially, as soon as the danger passes, the system immediately shuts down. The body returns to its pristine state of balance. Now contrast this with your own experience. You aren't running from any tangible predator, yet your body behaves as if you are in constant peril. You might be lying peacefully in bed, but your mind is consumed by the looming specter of a crucial meeting, the painful echoes of a broken relationship, the crushing possibility of personal failure, the stark reality of your parents' mortality, or even your own perceived irrelevance. And in response, your body collapses internally. A rapid, erratic heartbeat, shallow, gasping breaths, clammy sweat, tense, aching muscles, persistent insomnia. And the most tragic part? This cycle repeats itself, day after day, for weeks, months, even years. Your brain exists in a state of perpetual, exhausting alert, never receiving the crucial relief that the danger has finally passed. Sapolsky masterfully demonstrates that the incredibly sophisticated human stress system was intricately designed to solve immediate, physical problems. But we, in our modern complexity, have inadvertently hijacked it to contend with abstract concepts, demanding social expectations, gnawing emotional insecurities, lingering unresolved traumas, profound existential dilemmas. The devastating result? Our delicate biological system short-circuits. And this internal collapse manifests itself in myriad visceral forms: chronic digestive problems, inexplicable hair loss, disruptive hormonal dysregulation, a tragically weakened immune system, debilitating cardiovascular diseases, pervasive sexual dysfunctions, and profound depression. And there's an even deeper layer to this tragedy: the unparalleled power of anticipation. While most animals experience stress only when faced with an immediate, undeniable threat, we humans are uniquely capable of suffering from threats that exist solely within our minds. Threats that don't even exist in reality. Sapolsky explains that the mere anticipation of a problem is enough to trigger the full physiological cascade of stress. In other words, you could be perfectly healthy, utterly safe, and comfortably at home. Yet if your mind begins to vividly imagine a disaster, Your body will react as if you are already engulfed in it. And so, we live our lives perpetually stressed by phantoms, relentlessly attacked by our own thoughts, utterly dominated by a biology that was simply not designed for the complexities of the modern world. We are the direct descendants of hunter-gatherers, now living among glowing screens, crushing deadlines, and relentless existential pressures. Yet, our ancient brain still understands only two fundamental commands: survive or die. Sapolsky forces us to confront an uncomfortable, yet vital, truth. The problem isn't anxiety itself. The problem is the fact that our intrinsic stress system is being activated every single day for reasons that are not real, that are not physically present. And as long as we fail to grasp this deep biological root, as long as we mistakenly treat anxiety as a weakness or a mere lack of discipline, we will continue to needlessly punish ourselves for something that is, in essence, a natural mechanism, grotesquely distorted by an artificial, demanding context. But now, an inevitable pressing question arises. If this pervasive anxiety we feel is both a product of our ancient evolution and a consequence of our tenacious refusal to accept the present moment, how then can we possibly escape this intricate labyrinth? If anxiety truly serves a biological and philosophical function, how do we transcend seeing it merely as an enemy and instead begin to understand it as a crucial signal? In the next transformative part, we will take a decisive step forward, illuminating how this very anxiety can be seen not as a curse, but as an urgent invitation to a deeper, more profound awareness that we find ourselves trapped in a cruel paradox. The more knowledge we accumulate about the world, the more profoundly insecure we seem to become. The more unfettered access to information we possess, the more our anxiety spirals. The more seemingly endless choices we are presented with, the more we are paralyzed by indecision. We are living, as Alan Watts so aptly described it, in the era of insecurity, cunningly disguised as progress. We are part of a civilization that idolizes control, yet has built its very foundation upon a deep-seated fear. The fear of failure, the fear of devastating loss, the ultimate fear of losing control over something that, in truth, has never truly been within our grasp. Watts asserts that this pervasive modern collapse originates within the mind and then spreads like an insidious, invisible epidemic throughout the body, permeates our culture, and fundamentally shapes the way we relate to one another. From our earliest days, we are meticulously taught that we must have a clear plan, a defined purpose, a precise direction. We are indoctrinated with the belief that we must always be productive, unwavering, and emotionally regulated. And yet, simultaneously, we are relentlessly bombarded by uncertainties that none of these promises can possibly sustain. Life changes in an instant. The world plunges into unforeseen crises. People we cherish leave. Our bodies, inevitably, fall ill. Chaos with its raw power invades. And suddenly, everything that once seemed so secure dissolves before our very eyes. And what is our immediate, reflexive response? We frantically rush to exert even more control. We set new, often impossible goals. We desperately seek out new techniques. We blindly follow charismatic gurus. We forge obsessive routines, cling to alluring self-help philosophies, and deliver impassioned motivational speeches that, deep down, are nothing more than desperate, frantic attempts to silence the gnawing fear. But as Watts would so profoundly remind us, the more fiercely you attempt to grasp water with your hands, the more inevitably it slips through your fingers. Anxiety, then, emerges as the unavoidable stark reflection of this relentless struggle. A mind that stubbornly refuses to accept impermanence, and a body that collapses under the impossible weight of trying to obey its impossible orders. Robert Sapolsky powerfully reinforces this tragedy from a purely biological perspective. He demonstrates with scientific precision that our intricate stress systems were designed to cope with short-term, acute events, and that the human body was simply not built to maintain a constant, unyielding state of alert. What happens then? When this finely tuned system is activated day after day, for months, for years on end? What happens when the perceived threat never truly dissipates, because it exists solely within the confines of your own head? The answer is starkly simple: collapse. Not merely a metaphorical collapse, but a literal, physiological one. Cells prematurely age, cognitive functions noticeably deteriorate. Our immune response becomes dangerously compromised. An anxious mind doesn't just suffer emotionally. It systematically makes the entire body sick. And the cruelest irony is that even when confronted with these undeniable biological signs, we stubbornly insist on blaming ourselves. We internalize the belief that anxiety is a personal weakness, that stress is a profound lack of balance, that we simply need to exert more willpower. Nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing could be more profoundly destructive. Both Watts and Sapolsky converge on a powerful, central point: resisting the inherent nature of life, whether that resistance is psychological or biological, inevitably creates immense suffering. And this suffering manifests itself as chronic anxiety, as a deep existential exhaustion, as that unnameable emptiness you feel echoing inside. But what if we simply stopped resisting? What if, instead of continuing to wage war against anxiety, we began to genuinely listen to it? What if this relentless state of tension wasn't a disease to be cured, but a language to be learned? A desperate attempt by your body and mind to communicate that something fundamentally needs to change? This is precisely what we will explore. Next, what if instead of exhaustively trying to eliminate anxiety, what you truly need is to understand it as a profound language? A language that your psyche, your body, and even your personal history are using to try and wake you up, to jar you into a deeper awareness. When observed with genuine depth and radical honesty, anxiety reveals itself less as a stubborn problem and far more as a potent symptom. It's a direct reflection of something internal that has been neglected, perhaps even buried, for far too long. It is the piercing alarm that sounds when there's a fundamental incoherence between how you are living externally and what you are authentically feeling internally. It's the dissonance that screams when your external life rigidly follows a script of obligations, masks, and societal expectations, but your internal truth cries out desperately for authenticity, for genuine pause, for profound meaning. In this crucial sense, anxiety is not your enemy. It is, in fact, the vigilant guardian of the sacred boundary between the false and the true. Alan Watts saw this with disconcerting clarity. For him, psychological suffering emerges when we desperately try to sustain an identity that simply doesn't correspond to the raw reality of who we are. We strive to appear secure, utterly controlled, undeniably strong, even when deep inside, we are silently crumbling. And as he so eloquently wrote, to be insecure is to be alive. Pretending otherwise is the perfect, foolproof recipe for an inevitable collapse. Watts proposes that anxiety is quite literally the friction generated between who we are authentically and who we rigidly pretend to be. It is a brutal, undeniable reminder that we cannot continue living unconsciously without paying an immense, personal price. On the other side of this profound insight, Sapolsky provides us with the undeniable physiological basis of this very collapse. He demonstrates that there is an inherent intelligence within stress itself, an ancient evolutionary function. exists to protect you, to alert you, to prepare you for action. But when this intricate system is ignored, relentlessly repressed, or grotesquely distorted, this same powerful mechanism begins to act profoundly against you. Anxiety ceases to be adaptive and instead becomes profoundly self-destructive. But notice this crucial distinction. This self-destruction doesn't happen because anxiety is inherently wrong. It happens because you stopped listening. It happens because you started fighting against it instead of understanding it as a vital, desperate ally. And it is precisely at this pivotal point that a new, transformative possibility finally arises. What if, instead of continuing to deny the raw, uncomfortable sensations you feel, you learn to simply observe them? Not to judge, not to react impulsively, not to flee in terror, just to observe. To be truly present with the sensation, no matter how profoundly uncomfortable it is. Because it is in this radical state of attention, this unflinching presence, that true, profound transformation truly begins. When you cease seeing anxiety as an intimidating enemy, it miraculously loses its power to dominate you. This doesn't imply romanticizing suffering or pretending it's pleasant. It means recognizing that suffering has a profound purpose. That pain can be a powerful messenger of growth. That anxiety, despite its frightening and overwhelming appearance, can be a direct invitation to deeper presence, to stark lucidity, and a meaningful, lasting change. Anxiety, in this context, is the profound opposite of alienation. It is, in fact, the courageous beginning of genuine awareness. And awareness in its purest form is always the very first, most essential step toward true freedom. But to courageously follow this path, you need more than just abstract ideas. You need tangible tools. You need practice. You need to reclaim your body, to find your ground, to cultivate a profound presence. In the very next part, we will move from the abstract realm of concepts to the precise, actionable point. How to begin the journey of reconnecting with the present moment and returning to the body, the true source of the safety that your mind is so desperately trying to manufacture and control. The time has come to make the hardest and simultaneously most transformative move you can possibly make, to bravely leave the incessant chatter of your head and profoundly return to your body. Because as long as you remain trapped in that relentless cycle of thought, desperately trying to predict, analyze, understand, and control, anxiety will continue to feed voraciously on your absence, on your disconnect from the present. The mind on its own simply cannot heal what it has created. It is absolutely necessary to descend, to return, to profoundly reconnect with your physical self. Alan Watts once said that the ultimate secret of life is to be completely, utterly engaged with whatever you are doing, right here, right now. And he didn't utter this as just another fleeting self-help platitude, but as a direct, urgent call to practice. Watts understood deeply that the human mind exhausts itself trying to control the uncontrollable because it has tragically lost the fundamental ability to be present in the real. And being present isn't some abstract, beautiful idea. It is rigorous training. It is a profound discipline. It is a vital relearning of the truly obvious. And this is where biology, surprisingly, becomes your most powerful ally, not an insurmountable obstacle. Robert Sapolsky reveals to us that physiological stress can be profoundly alleviated through simple yet far from superficial actions. Acts like consciously breathing, intentionally slowing down, moving your body, prioritizing restorative sleep, allowing genuine pauses in your day, openly expressing your emotions, and cultivating secure, meaningful bonds with others. All of these are integral parts of the profound antidote, not to magically erase anxiety, but to restore a long-lost sense of balance to your body. Breathing deeply, for instance, isn't just some generic relaxation technique. It's a powerful way to fundamentally reprogram your autonomic nervous system. By consciously prolonging your exhalation, you send a clear, unmistakable signal to your brain that the danger is past, and it in turn begins the crucial process of deactivating its survival mode. Sapolsky meticulously explains that practices like this have a direct, measurable effect on your cortisol and adrenaline levels, the primary hormones of chronic stress. But there's something even deeper, something truly transformative, radical. Observation. It's the courageous act of learning to notice anxiety arising within you like a powerful wave, and then bravely resisting the overwhelming temptation to control it or desperately avoid it. Just feeling, just being there with it. This, right here, is the very beginning of the end of the reactive cycle. It's when you begin the deep training of what psychology calls emotional regulation, but which Watts would perhaps prefer to call a profound surrender to reality. It is the precise moment when you become larger than the emotion itself, not because you have somehow mastered it, but because you have bravely embraced it. Being present is resisting the compulsive pull of the future. It's breaking the exhausting addiction to trying to solve your entire life before you even take the next step. It's a deliberate return to the body, to the vibrant now, to the simple sound of your own breath, to the undeniable texture of the chair beneath you, to the solid touch of the ground beneath your feet. And gradually, almost imperceptibly, this intentional practice begins to reverse the profound imbalance within you, not as some miraculous overnight solution, but as a daily, conscious reconstruction of your own deep relationship with the world. Anxiety perceptibly decreases when the body is genuinely included in the equation. When you cease living exclusively in the confines of your mind and begin to exist as a whole, integrated being. When you stop trying to logically understand everything and instead begin to trust direct, felt experience. Because your body, in its innate wisdom, knows something your mind has forgotten, that life happens, truly, one precious moment at a time. But this leads us to an even deeper revelation, a profound shift in perspective. If anxiety is not a mistake, if it has deep roots in both our biology and our psychology, and if it carries legitimate, vital messages about our way of living, then perhaps it is not an obstacle to be relentlessly overcome, but an essential, even sacred, part of our journey. In this final, integrating part, we will bring all of these threads together. We will look at anxiety with entirely new eyes, not as something to be eliminated, but as a powerful, undeniable sign that something profound within you is trying desperately to awaken. What you are about to hear next may profoundly, irrevocably change the way you see yourself. Forever. We have reached the culmination of this deep dive, but perhaps this is precisely where everything truly begins. Throughout this exploration, you have been confronted with an entirely new way of looking at something that has likely haunted you, perhaps for a very long time: anxiety. That uncomfortable, persistent presence that appears in the stark silence of the early morning, or in the middle of a vibrant conversation, or at the exact moment when logically everything should be perfectly fine. But now, perhaps you can finally see it for what it has always been: a vibrant sign of life, a visceral cry from your body, an urgent warning from your mind, a profound echo of your deepest consciousness. You are not broken. You are not inherently weak. You are not some walking defect. What you feel is profoundly consistent with the complex world you inhabit, with the unique history you carry, and with how incredibly hard you have been tirelessly trying to seem functional in a society that itself suffers from a collective, deep-seated denial of reality. The anxiety you feel is, in fact, a powerful reflection of your own innate clarity. of your acute sensitivity, of your remarkable ability to perceive what is fundamentally not right, even when everyone around you rigidly pretends that it is. Alan Watts, with his piercing insight, said that we often try to fix the outside world without ever bothering to fix what is profoundly broken inside. And perhaps that, precisely, is the immense invitation of anxiety, to turn inward, not as an act of escape, but as an act of courageous reconnection, as a reclaiming of your most sacred inner space. Because when you finally stop fleeing from yourself and begin, truly, to listen to what you feel, without haste, without judgment, without the protective masks you've worn for so long, something fundamental changes. Anxiety loses its terrifying role as the villain, and it begins its slow, profound transformation into your most insightful teacher. Sapolsky, with all his scientific precision, demonstrated that understanding the body is an essential, non-negotiable part of this process. Watts, with his philosophical clarity, revealed that accepting the present moment is the ultimate key to unlocking true freedom. And now, the profound work is up to you, to unite these two powerful truths. Not to cure anxiety as if it were some infectious virus to be exterminated, but to mature profoundly through it. To evolve into someone more whole, more aware, more deeply present. And this, of course, isn't accomplished in a single video, nor in a single day. This is a profound journey, a continuous, lifelong work of unraveling the intricate lies we tell ourselves, of unconditioning yourself from societal pressures, of observing yourself with unflinching honesty. It is the work of a lifetime of allowing anxiety to teach you, profoundly, how to truly live, instead of merely surviving. Ultimately, understanding that true security is found, paradoxically, in the courageous act of stopping the frantic search for it. If this conversation resonated with you, if it touched you in some deeper, more significant place, please let me know. Share in the comments what impacted you the most. What part kept echoing in your mind long after you heard it? What specific excerpt do you wish someone had told you years ago? Your words, your shared experience, can illuminate the path for another person who is experiencing precisely what you are feeling right now. And of course, if this content helped you see anxiety in a dramatically different light, please consider subscribing. Here, psychology is raw and unfiltered. Here, profound philosophy meets the undeniable reality of the body. And it doesn't stop. Here, the next piece of insight could be the very key to continuing this vital personal process. It is important. I'll see you there.